Hey YouTube, this is NJ405, and what I have today is a very simple, very easy power supply. I've seen this design used a couple times, a few different ways. I kind of like the way Gray Scott built his. It looked pretty simple, pretty easy. The only difference is I plan on using I got this from the Goodwill. It was an HP power supply. It was 19 volts, 19.5 amps. It actually puts out 19.5 volts. It's pretty solid power supply, so this should be plenty for the power supply. It's 180 watts. I'm going to be using one of these Septic LTC 3860s, I believe. If it's wrong, I'll put the right name down in the description. This is supposedly one of the best out there. Gray Scott used it. I've seen it used a few times. That's what I plan on using. It's pretty basic. I'm going to use a couple potentiometers with it. So I'll be desoldering these and adding these. A DC switch. Another boost converter to control the fans. Actually, I believe this might be a buck converter. A buck converter to control the fans. I'm probably going to add a fuse. I'm using another one of the blue cases that like I used for my DIY tab holder. It's going to have 3 banana jacks. One's going to be negative, positive, and then battery charge. And the battery charge is just going to have diode, probably this one I believe is 15 amps, so this should be all that I need. And what I'll end up doing is I'll end up just connecting it to the main positive and then over to another positive banana jack, and we'll make sure to mark the further one away as the battery charger. I'm also going to throw in a DC jack, and I think the reason behind the DC jack is, let's say that I decide to take this with me on the go and I want to battery power it. I can, if I have a DC jack in it, I can go ahead and power it from any battery on the go or on the on the fly. We'll do some testing once we get that far up there and see if we can get that to work. So it's pretty basic. There's not much to it. All simple parts. This video is going to be sponsored by JLC PCB. So here's a little word from the sponsors, and then after that we'll get to building. We'll get this put together and we'll do a little bit of testing. I would like to thank JL PCB for sponsoring and making this video possible. JLC PCB is one of the largest prototype manufacturers in China, with over 10,000 PCB prototypes ordered and produced daily. Their warehouse has an overall location size of 4,000 square meters, where they do 1, 2, and 3 layer or even multi-layer PCB prototypes. Upload your Gerber file with prices starting at $2 for standard PCBs. Make sure to visit JLC PCB's homepage, jlcpcb.com/, or use the link in my description. Click the Quote Now button, add Gerber file, or if you're using the easiest PCB designer site, Easy EDA, click the Generate Fabrication file, where it will show you your Gerber file and ordering information. Click the Order at JLC PCB, where it will download your Gerber file automatically. Click your free color silkscreen, green, red, yellow, blue, white, or black, and then click Save to Cart. Click the Checkout Securely button, where it will ask you your shipping address, shipping method, submit order, and payment. It's that easy to get your quality $2 PCBs at JLC PCB in as little as 3 days. Thanks again, JLC PCB, for sponsoring this video. Hey you guys, quick change up. So after doing all the prepping I needed to do to that other boost buck converter, I found out that it was defective. So I decided on a whim, instead of just trashing the whole project, I got this boost buck converter, and it's a Minghe D3806 that I'm going to use instead. So the only difference between this and the other one is this won't be using pots. This has buttons on there. I may add buttons to it and just do a cutout for the LED and the lights. The difference is this one can actually go up about 10 volts higher than the other one, and it can put out a little bit more watts, but it's limited by 6 amps. So it's not going to be a bad power supply, but it could put out a little bit more watts than the other one can. But based on this, it's a 19 volt 9.5 amps, or 9.5 amps. We may be limited up into the 30s by the amperage coming out of here, so we'll have to do some Ohm's law before I do any testing above, I guess, 30 volts. So I guess that's all I wanted to add, is that I'm changing the boost buck converter from the LTC 3680 or whatever it was to this Minghe D3806. I also made a, I heard that this has a problem with inrush current, and it also has a problem with outrush current. So I made a little makeshift kind of, I didn't have the correct fuses, so I put 2.5 amp fuses in parallel, and I made it to where I could take them out and put them in, so that just in case one of these blow, I can replace it pretty quick. What I'll also be doing is I'll be adding a safety switch on the exterior, on the output of this, that I can leave off until I decide to plug in whatever I'm going to use. It's going to just keep it from any protect it from any outrush current. That's the only issues I ever heard with any of these. Besides that, people are claiming these are pretty good boost buck converters. So I guess I'll get back to the build. Alright folks, well that's the wrap up to this power supply build, and I start off with the other bus boost converter and the LM3118 or 318 or 338. It fried on there. I replaced it and it started working, but I'd already had gotten this one in. I like the kind of buttons and stuff, and this one's a little more powerful than the other one. This one is up to 240 watts, and I believe the other one says 140 watts. I'm not 100% sure. I'll go ahead and leave both links down in the description if I could find them if I could find them on Amazon. Wasn't a very difficult build. I only used a 9 amp fuse, and that's just to protect the buck converter from going over its limit, because using something like a 19 volt 9 amp power supply like I did, you could very easily go up to 38 volts, and then I guess at 38 volts you probably could do 4 amps. Anything over that you're going to blow the fuse, and that protects the buck converter. So make sure if you build something like this, make sure you know your Ohm's law. That way, you know, you don't blow your boost buck converter. The best thing you could probably do, because this is 38 volts, would be to find a 38 volt 6 amp power supply. Then you wouldn't really have to worry about, you know, Ohm's law or anything like that. But yeah, so this is the green over here. It's connected to a diode, and that's just to protect a battery if I decide to use this to charge batteries. On this boost buck converter, people were mentioning that when you first power it on, it likes to shoot up to like 50 volts or something like that, and it could damage anything that you're working on. So I put in this little switch as a protection. That way whenever I turn it on to the, you know, the power whatever I'm doing, it first, you know, it gets rid of that first initial burst, and then I could power it on and I don't have to worry about it. Kind of just a little protection. So I mean, there's not really much to this power supply. So if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comment section. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I will check you guys out in my next video.